Hi everyone, I hope you are well and safe. I know I've shared with you a few things that I've been doing during the past couple of months, enjoying the outside, especially this spring, doing a little planting, bringing out some of my old tools like my Phillips pasta maker, and making some different types of pasta, experimenting with sourdough bread, which I have really enjoyed and having a blast. And speaking of experiments, I'm even experimenting with a new twist on a new hairdo, a video to come soon, but staying true to trying to eat good and right. A salad without the lettuce, it's great, but today we're talking about pasta fagioli, pasta and beans. Lydia's recipe from a YouTube, and I am cooking along with her. Let's see if we're going to give this recipe a thumbs up. Hi y'all. Same day. Cute. Here's what I thought I'd do. I thought I would share with you a new recipe that I'm going to try from Lydia's kitchen. It's pasta and beans, and I'm going to make it as I watch the video and share it with you, and we'll see if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down. So first thing she said was to heat your pan up with olive oil, which I have good olive oil here, and I probably need more, and I'll add it, and put a pan on of boiling water, which I've done, and I'm going to eyeball this, guys. I'm not looking at how much she's using, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it to the video, and I will link her video below since this is her recipe. So I also peeled out and smashed down 3 nice garlic cloves. And when the oil heats up a little bit, I am going to drop that in there. Rule 101, don't walk away from a pan when you've got oil cooking on the burner because the oil gets too hot. So I've removed it from the burner as the oil was like a kind of smoking, and I threw the garlic in, and I'm just mixing it around, and it's getting nice and toasty. Oh yeah, real toasty. But that's okay because I'm following a recipe, guys, and it's real life, so let's just do that. Then her next step is in the oil and the garlic. She leaves the garlic in there, and of course hers doesn't look quite as brown as mine, but mine is brown, not burnt. Then I'm going to put back on the burner, turn that down a little bit, and I'm going to add, she makes a roux, and so I'm eyeballing this roux flour into the garlic and the oil to thicken it up because that's what she's doing in the recipe. Now, I grew up with my family making pasta and beans a lot, so I don't ever recall them doing a roux or pureeing a part of the beans, but I'm going to follow this recipe exactly as is, and now I shall be back once the roux thickens. Now I just added some boiling water to the roux, which was the oil and the flour, and it's gotten really nice and creamy. I'll share it with you. I'm not making quite as much as she's making in the recipe, so, and I'm listening to her at the same time. So I'm probably going to add about total maybe 2 quarts of water. So I'm just stirring this up. I'm going to lower it a little bit before I add the rest of it. So next she poured the water in, and I used about 2 quarts to this roux, and it doesn't of course look like much right now, but now I'm going to salt it, and I'm not going to go too heavy on the salt. I'm using low sodium beans from a can. And then I'm going to stir it around and add a couple of sprigs of rosemary to it because I happen to have it. to watching. I think I've showed this. I'm not sure if it recorded. I added a can of crushed tomatoes. She used whole tomatoes and then crushed them up with her hands, but I'm using what I have on hand. Mixed it all up, and I added 1 can of white beans that I pureed with my emulsifier blender, my stick blender, and added that. And now I'm going to add fresh cracked pepper. And I like a lot of pepper. And if you like, you can add the red pepper flakes, but I think I'll save that for the end. And everybody can just season as they want. And I know the pasta is going to also cook in here, so it's really going to thicken it up. So hopefully that will be good. Now I'm going to get back to the video and see what's next. Okay, that was embarrassing. I had a delivery that I had to sign for. Oh well, they had called to let me know they were delivering it, and I said, can you leave it at the front porch? No, you really have to sign for it. I'm like, oh, in my apron, in my, what's it, a do-rag? It's okay. This is thickening up. I have it over medium heat, and I've been looking for the lid, which is missing. Why is a lid missing? It's like that sock, you know, that gets missing from the laundry. Well, now the lid to the pan is missing, but it's fine. I'm just gonna probably put a piece of foil over it. You know, you have to improvise when you need to. So I'm just putting a piece of foil over it, gonna let that simmer a little bit more. And then I'm gonna add the last can of beans and the little noodles, which means thimble, I think, if I'm not mistaken, but I'll add that later. Next, Lydia, is going to serve this with nice homemade bread, and I have this bread left over. It is sourdough, so I am going to slice it, and I'm going to grill it right on my grill pan. Ooh, that's a little thick, but I love to put a piece of homemade bread in the bottom of my soup bowl and just let it absorb all of the good flavors. And this is sourdough bread that I made with the einkorn flour. It's the first time I ever used it. It really does have a different type of flavoring, and from what I've read on it and researched, it's easier to digest, and I think the bread came really good. So over here with my makeshift lid, I am just simmering this, and according to her video, Lydia said let it simmer for 20 to 30 minutes, and it is thickening up because I still have to add the pasta to it and the rest of the beans that I drained. And these were canned beans. I did not have whole beans. So I think it's going to be good, and best of all, my mom is going to love it. And if she doesn't, actually, I learned something new from Lydia's video. She says when you're grilling on a grill pan like this, don't butter or oil your bread first, because it actually changes the composition of the oil that you're using, and it kind of burns the flavor. So she says grill your bread first. So I'm going to grill it on these in these big pieces, but I'm going to let my pan get a little bit hot there because I think it will do better. And I can show you, this is simmering away. I might even reduce that just a little bit. I want to make sure nothing sticks at the bottom. And when I pretty much can feel the heat evenly distributed over the pan here, it'll be good and hot. And this happens to be a cast iron skillet that has the ridges in it. It's great for grilling. I like to do chicken in it, and it's good on the bread too. It's getting there. So I have nothing on the bread. I'm just going to do 2 at a time, and I need something to weigh it down. So here I've improvised with one of my La Crusette pans for weight, and just have to be careful about the handle getting too hot. Just to put the weight down on the bread, there's no butter or oil on the bread. I'm just grilling it first in the pan. Then I'm going to take a fresh garlic clove and just run it over the bread. I might put a little olive oil on my mom's piece, but for me, just plain. As they would say, the magic is starting to happen. And here I'm using just this pot holder glove when I have to pick this up, because that handle is now getting very hot. And it is smoking a little, but I want those nice grill marks on that bread. Probably about 10 more minutes on this particular method of melding all the flavors together, and then I can add the whole beans and the pasta. Checking this one more time. Okay guys, I have removed all of the rosemary and the garlic. Actually, I'll put a couple of slices of that garlic in my bowl because I love cooked garlic. It just has such a sweet taste to it. And I think I pulled the majority of it out. And next, I am going to add my ditalini, which I said means little thimbles, and my beans. But first I'm going to cook this for probably 8 minutes, and then I'll add the beans because they only need to be heated up. I'm going to kind of start with that much, which I would think is about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a cup. Still will swell. And I still have to add the other amount of beans, but from what I can see in here, thinking I'm going to add a little more pasta because I don't want it quite so soupy. So, don't forget, you can always go back and add. You can also cook your pasta separate and boil it first, but I'm doing it just like Lidia. I want to make her proud. It smells so good. And we always eat this a little bit thicker and not so soupy, but either way, it will be delicious. Now, I'm going to let it just boil with the pasta, and I'm going to set my timer for about 8 minutes, and then I'm going to add the beans for just a couple of minutes. And the bread grilled beautifully on both sides, and I just did 2 pieces for now, and I think that will be sufficient. So guys, I've taken a garlic clove and just sliced off a piece of it, and I'm taking the bread after it's been grilled and just rubbing it all over to get that nice garlic essence. And again, here, and you don't think that it is flavoring the bread, but it really is. Oh, the aroma is spectacular. I wish you could even, so wish there was smell-o-vision, because this cooking is wonderful. I'm gonna do this with my left hand, but I did add probably, I think I have close to a cup of this. As you can see, it's starting to thicken. You want to make sure that while this is cooking and boiling away that you're constantly stirring, because you don't want anything to stick to the bottom. And when it's done, I am going to add Parmesan Reggiano cheese on top with a little dollop of olive oil, with the bread in the bowl, and just a bit of fresh parsley on top. And oh my gosh, it's going to be a meal fit for the queen that I am today. So guys, I cooked the noodles a little bit longer because my mom likes them more on the super soft, mushy side. So I'm going to add the beans the last minute here because they just need to heat up. And this looks magnificent. It looks the right consistency. It's not too soupy. It's not too super thick. So I'm going to bowl this up and share a bite with you. Adding some grated Parmesan Reggiano, just a little bit for some flavoring, and everybody else can put the amount that they want in their bowl. I'm going to put some hot pepper flakes on mine. And look at that, guys. That is magnificent. Here we have heaven in a bowl. So what do you think? Was it good? Good? Yeah. Super good. Okay, all. That is a sign that pasta fagioli was so yummy. Again, I watched a YouTube video that Lidia has out, and I made this recipe. Now, it is not the first time, of course, in my life that I've ever eaten it. I grew up on this stuff. My mother made this quite frequently in our household, like once a week. Pasta and beans, and I hated it. All right, I did not like it. Don't ask me why. Back then, they made it a lot of times with red beans, and I just did not like it. But as I've gotten older, and when my mom makes it, it's really good. And actually, the little mission church that my mom belonged to for 55 years or more, they always, during the season of Lent, would have Lenten Friday suppers that they would have down at the church and also sell out for people could pick up. And then on the menu was always homemade bread and pasta and beans. And the people would go crazy for it, crazy. So today, this is like, you know, if I had 5-10 thumbs, they would all be up. It was absolutely scrumptious and delicious. And I even had homemade grilled sourdough bread, exactly as Lidia said, to grill it in the pan. It was perfection. And also, I have to say that in accordance with my Weight Watchers, I counted the pasta fagioli as the points, and it's really low in points because it's beans and it is some pasta. And so for 1 cup of pasta fagioli, it's 3 points. So I gave myself 6 points because I just wanted to make sure I covered the basis, and then 3 points for the slice of homemade sourdough bread. And I can tell you, it was spectacularly, delightfully delicious. It was so good. So next I'm going to clean that mess up that I'll show you here. Always make a mess when I'm cooking, but it was so worth it today. So 10 thumbs up for Lydia's pasta fagioli. It was so good. I think mine was a little more ditalini heavy because as I was cooking it, after about 4 minutes, I'm like, oh, I don't really see the pasta. It's not swelling like I thought it would at that point. And I said, oh, I got to add a little more, which I did, and then it really thickened up. So if you like it on less than that, I would say about, for that amount that I use, probably between a half a cup and a little under 3/4 of a cup is probably perfect. And I think I went a little bit more towards the 1 cup for the 2 quarts that had thickened. But it was, like I said, delightfully delicious. So until my next video, be kind, be humble, and age gracefully. Bye. Well, here's the kitchen, all cleaned and put back together. Ooh, and it's such a great feeling. And here is a photo of my curly hair, a video to come soon. Thank you so much for watching.